Welcome, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Unwritten. And I am so grateful to everyone who comes and listens to these episodes that I get to record with amazing, insightful, and wise people. Today, I'd like to introduce Dr. Joy. And in this episode of Unwritten, we share a journey of introspection as Dr. Joy shares her story of empowering the world of body positivity, controversial topics of the Lizzo movement, discussing her upbringing and navigating relationships and spiritual awakenings. Dr. Joy explores themes of self-acceptance, mindfulness, and spirituality. Tune in to learn about Stoicism, embracing your emotions, and expressing yourself with the freedom that you deserve. Don't forget to subscribe. Check out my sponsors in the show notes. I'll see you in the episode. Enjoy. Welcome to the Unwritten Podcast with your host, Thomas Malpass, where we are on a mission to help the world find more purpose, passion, and peace in their everyday lives. Through deep conversations and connection, tune in because we are all on this journey of life together. Yeah, but I'm in Austin, Texas.
Okay, I just went to Austin for the first time. Actually, I got myself a pair of boots at Allen's.
Oh, nice. Where you said you were born in Texas?
I was in Port Arthur.
Or is that like south?
It's like
North?
just on the Texas side of the Louisiana-Texas border, right by Lake Charles, Louisiana. It's right
Oh,
on the
it's
side of
east.
It's a terrible like oil refinery town. Nothing, you wouldn't go
Oh,
there.
really? And then
It's
you
famously the
moved.
home of Janis Joplin. Um,
Janis
she
Joplin's from there?
Yeah, and she hated them and they hated her.
Oh, why'd they hate her?
I think, she was kind of a radical in her time and they weren't digging it.
What's her famous song?
Piece of My Heart, Bobby McGee, Me and Bobby McGee. It's before your time.
I mean, I'm 29, but I had a phase in high school
Oh, yeah?
where all I did was listen to classic music,
Oh,
like
that's cool.
classic rock, like Zeppelin, Hendrix. You can go your own way.
Yeah, the Fleetwood Mac.
Fleetwood Mac. I was like, who's the artist? I
Well,
know
you're
the
so brave
song
to sing for me, thank
Fleetwood
you.
Mac. Huh?
You were so brave to sing for me, thank you.
Oh, whatever. YOLO.
YOLO. I did that too in high school. I was a hippie. And I mean, I still kind of am a hippie, but I was really a hippie in high school with classic music and all that. I went off to college with my Led Zeppelin and Beatles, dorm poster.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I had my hippie phase. I actually had like very long hair as well,
Oh, yeah.
and wore like a headband. I, yeah, I like legit had like your length hair, and I would just
Oh,
like wear a
yeah? It's
headband to
pretty long.
high school, and people were always amazed because they're like, "What do you do with your hair? It's like so luscious." And I'm like, "It's just that's just
Born that
I
way.
guess." Yeah, I guess I just naturally had like good wavy, like it was like wavy,
Mm,
shiny hair.
nice.
Um, and then I cut it before I joined the military.
Oh, so you went into the military after being a hippie.
Yeah, it was like a complete 180. Like,
It sounds
cause
like it.
I knew I had to do something to get out of my hometown. I'm from Dover, Delaware,
Oh, okay.
and I was just a pothead, smoking weed every day, hanging out with my friends. That I mean, we did work out. Like we worked out like almost every day. Like we would smoke weed listen to classic rock and work out like all day. And I knew I needed to do something to get out of there. So that's why I joined the the Navy.
Well, I'm so proud of you. Did that go for you like that you expected? Did it go like you expected? Did it
I
help?
mean, it's led me here.
There you go. I like that.
So yeah, it's a question I asked at the end of it, all of my podcasts as well. But we'll get to that at the end. But we'll go ahead and just start off. I'll ask the first question I ask every guest, and it is share some experiences and take us back to your upbringing that shape you and how you define purpose, passion, and peace in your life.
Wow, that's deep. Okay, yes, I can go there. So when I was growing up, I was raised with addiction in my household, the adults in my household. Um, and that's a difficult thing for a child. So developmentally, children tend to take on responsibility for whatever's happening in their lives. They think it's about them. They think it's their fault. They think they somehow created this in their lives, good or bad.
Mm, yeah.
So when the adults in a child's life are having troubles and they can't regulate their emotions or show love in the way that a kid needs it, the kid thinks it's their fault and that they have some control over.
Mm,
And the way that I dealt with that, or what would happen for me, and what happens, I think, for a lot of people, is that I dove into perfectionism. I thought that if I was
mm,
a good girl, if I was quiet, if I wasn't annoying, if I got good grades, if I got positive attention at school and did everything perfect, if I looked perfect, acted perfect, then the adults in my life would love me and they would do what they were supposed
mm,
to. I would get what I needed. So that shaped my whole personality. I became
really.
very nice. I was the nice girl. I've been very
People
friendly.
pleaser.
Yes, a people
People
pleaser, a
pleaser.
perfectionist,
Yeah.
harsh judge of myself, but allowed other people to do whatever. Um,
Mm,
and
like taking advantage.
for
You've been
sure,
taken
or
advantage
just
of.
yeah, I thought that I had to prove my usefulness in the world. Like I am only as valuable as you think of me as useful. So do you take my advice? Do I help you when you're giving a birthday party for
Mm,
a kid? Or do I, give you good advice and help you through a situation? Good, that gives me worth. I didn't understand that
you were
my
seeking external validation
a hundred
versus the validation from yourself
yes.
because it stemmed from that childhood want and need that you didn't get that children do need. They do need that.
Yeah.
And then you learn to come into yourself when you become an adult. But children do, man, I tell my daughters every day because I have twins. I'm a
Oh,
single father, and I tell them every day, man, like, I love you so much. Uh, like you can do anything. You just have to work hard, and you know, they're only 6,
yeah.
but I still tell them this stuff every day. Like, no, like you need to work hard to get what you want in life. You know,
So great.
and
I want to commend you,
yeah.
tell you that studies show that the most important relationship that a man has up until he's in his 60s or 70s is the relationship with his mother. And
Oh,
that
mine is
so the relationship with a man's mother impacts
yeah,
how much money he makes, his relationships, his satisfaction.
really.
Not to say that if you had a bad relationship, you can't overcome it, but that shaped
Yeah,
it, right? The most important factor, good or bad, or however you
really.
overcome it might impact. Yes. And I think that if we were interested in a society as much in women's happiness as we are in men's, and we studied such a thing, which we haven't, we would
Oh, we
find
haven't.
no. We did this was the longest term study ever conducted, and it was all about men's happiness. What makes men happy.
Not woman's.
Um, which is wonderful to know, but might also be nice to know what impacts us women. But I
Yeah.
my theory is that if we did that sort of study, we would find that a girl's most important relationship is that with her father. And so you as a
It would
father,
be like vice versa, kind
yeah,
of.
so I think you as a father being a good example and showing them, modeling self-love. My mom told me to love myself my whole life, but I thought I did. I thought, "Yeah, I got that." She didn't model
Really?
self at all. Yeah. Mm-mm. So I had to figure that
Mm.
out for myself, and it took a long time, but modeling it, I think, is even more important than talking about it, but I think talking about it is also important, but it sounds like
Oh,
you're
yeah.
doing a good job
Actions
of it.
are it just goes back to that old saying, "Actions speak louder than words." You
Right.
have to but then that goes in that's like a vicious cycle because that goes back to what you were saying. You were trying to prove yourself through actions. So how does that work?
Well, I think, as human beings, we all deserve to be here. We're all inherently
Mhm.
good, valuable, and um, here for a purpose. And
Mhm.
so our worthiness comes from that, from our existence. And
Mhm.
I thought that if I behaved in a certain way that made people happy, that
Then you'd be worthy.
I'd be worthy. And you can't there's no end to that line of thinking. So what I finally realized at like 47 years old was, wait a minute, like I've been perfect my whole life. I've done all the
Really?
things. I've been a good girl. I've made everyone happy. I've got the highest degree of education a person can get. I'm
Yeah.
see what more can I do? I'm still not feeling the love that I should
You're
be.
not feeling, fulfilled and at peace within yourself.
Absolutely, the piece was really missing. I was moving at the speed of light, just trying to accomplish
Yeah.
and prove my worthiness, and I could never slow down because the piece wasn't there. And I felt like, okay, so for 47 years, I've been looking in the wrong place for peace.
Mhm.
And it messed me
Yeah.
up physically, as you know. I mean, I've lost 165 pounds in part due to looking inward for peace. Um, s-
Like,
physically.
purposely or on accident?
Oh, very much purposefully. I was walking around in a
Okay.
337-pound body, and my life was really
You were
limited.
337 pounds.
I was. I was for a long time. Yeah. It's
Really?
a very uncomfortable way to live, and I felt good about how I looked. I was sexy, and I had options when it came to
Body
men.
positivity.
I was very body positive, but the health and the lack of mobility and freedom really got to me as I got older, and so I had to face down, like, this balance between self-love and body positivity and also wanting to be healthier and smaller and get to the bottom of it with the medicine that's available and, medical treatment and also but the mind and body and spirit thing is huge for me. The peace had to come from within.
I think that's, like, what makes life worth living, to be honest, is when you find that body, mind, spirit, and you become aligned with it, and you start doing the work that is required for you to live a fully fulfilled and joyful and peaceful life, you know?
It's
That's
so important.
crazy though that you
And I'm a
so what
therapist.
yeah.
So I was helping people achieve their peace, you
But
know
not yourself.
no, and I went to therapy myself, and I had the emotional parts really, pretty solid, but there's just an alignment, just you said the right word. There has to be you can't I believe that you cannot maintain a weight of over 300 pounds if you have peace in yourself, because the amount of eating that has to
I
happen.
feel I feel that same exact way, uh, about I don't wanna bring up my mom, but we were talking about moms and the reflection of it, and the way I see my mom now is somebody that's stuck in their ways. They're hard changing, they're concrete, they're strict, they've been through a lot of traumatic experiences, and I accept my mom for who she is, regardless of trying to change her faults. Because we grew up like sorry to put my mom on blast, but she's probably not gonna listen to this anyways. But she was, she was, well, still is struggling with like hoarding and
Mm.
traumatic childhood experiences of abuse, being forced to be a caretaker out of 14 children. She was the second oldest out of 14. Um, Raised in poverty in the Philippines, first generation, and she raised us and she was trying her best with what she had.
Yeah.
And for a long time, we were putting the blame on her. Like, we can't talk to you. We can't be vulnerable with you. Like, yes, you put a roof over our heads. We weren't grateful for her, even though she was trying her best with what she had.
Right.
And now it's to the point that it's like, you just have to accept, sometimes you just have to accept people for who they are and let go of that energy you're wasting on trying to change people.
Yeah, I would argue that you're absolutely right and that you always have to accept people as they are, just always.
Mm,
You can choose the boundaries of what kinds of interactions are safe for you, and I have to do the same thing with my mother, to be honest. I'm struggling to figure out what the line is,
hmm.
but safety and also having compassion for her because I'll say that, like, my mom is my hero in that she got pregnant with me when she was 16,
Oh,
and
wow.
I was raised in extreme poverty, at least until 6 or 7 years old, and
Hmm.
she got me out of the place in Texas that I was telling you that I'm from that
Yeah,
was
yeah, yeah, yeah.
and she came from a long line of really dysfunctional people that really hurt children,
The
um,
generational.
without getting into it, but she saved me.
Yeah.
She got me out of there somehow, some way at 17 years old, and so I will always respect her for that. She hurt people, and my mom was a hurt person. And, so
Man.
we can have
Yeah.
compassion and love and also figure out what's safe for us as far as future interactions.
Yeah. Have you ever read the book, Maybe You Should Talk to Somebody?
No, but it sounds like a great book.
It's literally a therapist writing about therapy. Just like how you were saying, like, even therapists sometimes need therapists. And that whole book, Maybe You Should Talk to Somebody. It's like the artwork is like a tissue box. uh,
Crying is
and
so it's so good.
yeah, I really believe in therapy. And shout out to BetterHelp. I'm trying to get BetterHelp sponsored. But um,
Good, it's a good thing. It's connecting
no,
people.
I do to a certain extent. You have to find the right person for you because not everybody can open up to anyone. You
That's
have
right.
to find somebody you can open up to, and it may require shopping around therapist to really fully open up because I think it's very important to not hold on to the past, but heal from the past so that you can live in the present. Because when you're not healed, you tend to focus energy towards your past traumas and you start to go down this spiral effect of like victimization of your traumas and well it's because this trauma happened and this but and it takes you away from the present, from
Right.
living a truly present and in a moment by moment life, you know.
Yes, for sure, and we get caught in patterns. We're playing it out. I know
Yeah.
for me, like I told you that I was a performant, like I was a perfectionist people pleaser. So when you there's a book called, by Harville Hendrix, it's a good oldie but goodie called Keeping the Love You Find, and this book,
Mm,
is very foundational to therapeutic concepts that we have today. But it basically states that we recreate our family dynamics, our family of origin dynamics in our
mm.
romantic relationships. Because what we want
Oh, I heard of that, yeah.
is for someone who is like our parents and likely to not meet our needs in exactly the same way that our parents didn't meet our needs. We want them to change, to fix themselves and meet our needs. Like I, for example, have chosen partners that do not allow me to express emotion because my mom could not handle any feelings on my part. I could never have my feelings hurt. I could never be angry, hurt, frustrated, anything. I had to be happy all the time. So I picked a partner who could only tolerate me being happy. And what the reason that I did that was subconsciously I needed someone like that to to tolerate my feelings. But what I learned
Mm.
from that exercise is that it's futile and that what you
You
have to.
said your relationship was an exercise.
It was an exercise. Oh, all of them are assignments. When you get into a relationship, it's a spiritual assignment, an emotional assignment. You're there to learn something and teach something. And,
Yeah.
what I learned is that I can meet that need for myself. I don't have
Yeah.
someone else to make my feelings okay. I can have my feelings, claim them, have compassion for myself, surround myself with people that care about how I feel and care about making me feel better if they can. But also,
Mm.
I can make myself feel better. I can love myself. I can indulge my feelings. I can cheer myself up. I mean, all of that can come just from me. And so then you
Yeah.
choose relationships based on, like, does this person complement my life? Do they find joy in the same things that I find joy in? Are we compatible in things like how much we smoke or drink or go out versus stay home, or what do
Mm.
you get to pick based on all these great categories versus choosing from your place of trauma that's unhealed.
Trauma bonding.
Yeah, for sure.
Have you heard of that one?
Yes. That's a very powerful thing. Very
Trauma
powerful.
bonding?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I feel like you can get stuck in that.
Oh,
Like, you
for
f
sure.
like, you go through, what's it called? It's like a syndrome where you fall in love with your abuser.
Yeah,
There's a
Stockholm.
term.
Stockholm.
Stockholm. Yeah.
Yep, that's right. Well, because
Yeah.
and this is why there's certain things, did I lose you? Sorry.
No.
Um, this is why there's certain things that when, like, for example, being 337 pounds, I think I like
Yeah.
it that way. There was a big part of me that didn't want to change because as uncomfortable as that was, in a lot of ways, it was my comfort zone. That's what I knew. I knew how to move
Mhm.
through the world in this very large container. And moving around in a small container was completely foreign to me and scary to attempt. So the same goes for any addiction. The same goes for any like that. Like if you have a person who is abusive, people have a hard time leaving abusive situations in part because the devil is better than the one you don't, as they say. Like, this is where I'm comfortable. I'm navigating this. I'm surviving this.
You know
I
it,
don't,
you know what to expect
yeah. And I'm
versus the
surviving.
uncertainty. Yeah.
And our brains don't care about our happiness. Our brains care about our survival. So your brain
Mm.
says, you are in this traumatic, horrible relationship. Sure, it's not fun, but you're alive. What happens if you go out there in another relationship? You might not be alive. Like what, you've
You're
learned how to.
more afraid of leaving than you are with staying.
And that is true with any of our maladaptive coping things that we do because it's our safety zone. Even when it means horrific consequences to ourselves. Like the ones that I was facing being, approaching 50 at over 300 pounds, that there's a lot of consequences that were coming my way.
Oh yeah, I was just talking about this in my last podcast that once you reach like around 50s, that's when the creaking starts,
Yeah.
the
The pipe,
the
what is
aches and creaks and
Piper comes around for a collection, you're about to pay your dues, for how you've treated your body. You've done.
yeah, I think that's really when your body starts taking its toll when you reach around that age,
Yeah,
and
for
people
sure.
don't realize it
Mhm.
um, until then, until it's too late, until something bad happens,
Yeah,
and that's why you have to do the maintenance.
that's
Just
right.
do the maintenance because it's worth it in the end. I mean, at least if you care enough to live a long, healthy, happy life, you have to care enough. And that starts with what you were saying, that's self love. If you don't love yourself, you're not going to take care of yourself. You're not going to do the maintenance that's required of your body, mind, and soul.
That's so right. That you just said it all, the key to life. And also, you don't arrive at fitness, you don't arrive at spiritual enlightenment, you don't arrive at emotional health, and then that's it. You coast for the rest. Like, I've lifted the weights, my body, look how hot it is, and now I'm done. Nope.
Mm.
He is falling in love with the practice of taking care of yourself, mind, body, and spirit, falling in love with your meditation practice, falling in love with your exercise routine and your nutrition, the care that you take and what you eat, falling in love with understanding your emotions and fear. Then you practice it every day and you always have it. You don't arrive and you're done. I think, especially with weight loss,
Yeah,
that's like one of those things that
like your
people
goal.
yeah, people have this idea that you lose weight and that's it. I will always have obesity. The disease of obesity is alive in my brain, and I will always have to
Really?
manage it for the rest of my life. Even though I'm a size 8, I am, my BMI is almost to the normal, barely overweight. I still will have to manage this the rest of my life. I can't like just coast, and that is true for all of these things. If you're an alcoholic and you decide to get sober, you don't just like get to decide and that's it. Oh, I'm sober
It's
now. I've
every
arrived.
day.
It is every day, every minute, every
Yeah.
step. It's like very conscious living. Um,
Mhm.
that and that alignment,
Intentional.
intentional in alignment, mind, body, and spirit.
So what was that pivotal moment for you when you were 337 pounds, 40, you said 47
Mhm.
years old? What was like that? I call it the tipping point usually when it it may be, I mean, there's a book about the tipping point, but this is something different that I personally came up with. It might be a theory somebody already talked about, but I call it the tipping point where you you realize what you need to do, but you're not doing the work
Mhm.
that it takes to change. And I think that's the tipping point where you're like, whether you're an alcoholic, addiction to anything, where you realize this is not, like, you become aware, you're self-aware that something needs to change, but you're not doing it. That's the tipping point. What was that for you?
You are so insightful. I'm just so impressed by you. I think that for me, it was awareness. I first started with inner critic healing. That was where I went first before I started to lose weight or anything, before I would even consider attempting to lose weight. Because I had done it so many times. I had lost 80 pounds, 60 pounds, 20 pounds countless times and gained it all
Oh,
back
really? And you
before I
gained it back.
do it again. So I was like in love with my curves. I was like embracing it. I'm like, I'm just gonna be a fat girl for the rest of my life and I'm gonna love it. I'm gonna love my life. And because I can be happy and fat, I can be productive and fat. And I use the word fat
Oh,
intentionally
man.
to
That's a
reclaim.
whole nother rabbit hole that I
Oh,
have an issue with, that I'm not okay with. Um, we can talk about that after your story, though.
sure, yeah. Well, so that's where I was. And the problem is that body positivity and all of this, it's very confusing and it's in conflict with what we know about what we need to do for our health.
Mhm.
And because I was this perfectionist people pleaser and moving at the speed of light, never sitting in stillness, never giving myself compassion and love, I could never, I never allowed myself to look at the consequences of my obesity and really let myself feel that. And so
Mhm.
once I started inner critic healing and then discovering self love, being honest with myself was the key. And that was the
Mm.
point. I allowed myself to watch a documentary, I think it's on Netflix, maybe HBO, it's called The Weight of the Nation,
Mhm.
and they just were rattling off the statistics. Being obese, you're more likely to die from any cause. You are more likely to get 13 different types of cancer, and it takes up to 13 years off of your life, and I thought of my 4 children. And once I was honest with myself about those things, then I was like, okay, I am a therapist. I am a self love, body positivity person. How do I reconcile needing to change my body while loving it as it is? And
Exactly, yeah.
where my podcast was born, The Easy Way Out, WEIGH, the play on words. Because I felt like if I can figure this out, I need to share it because no one has ever told me how to do that, how to love myself and desire to intentionally change my body. You asked me if my weight loss was intentional, and that was such a intuitive, good question because intentional weight loss is very different. I mean, sometimes people lose weight because they're on chemotherapy or there's a million,
Yeah.
but intentional weight loss is a really it should be a very thoughtful process. And for me to be successful, it has been that mind, body, spirit connection. All three things have to work in combination. I have to figure out
Mm,
my trauma and my emotional stuff and unpack all of that and develop a mindfulness practice. And all of this has led to so many changes in my life that I just feel like I want to stand at the top of a mountain and tell people
yeah.
the key to life is to love yourself. And once you do that, you can
I
do
mean, yeah.
anything that you want to do. Anything.
I mean, I hope this reaches people from the mountaintops, honestly. That's why I started this podcast, because I want to make these conversations viral. I
Mm,
want these conversations to be important and the trending topics. I don't want like drama or like trolls or social media. Like all that tends to take get the views. And it's
that's
like,
right.
man, we need to really start talking about the stuff that matters, not like, I mean, no, like, I love what like a lot of these content creators are doing. I mean, it's entertainment,
Yeah,
like some of the comedy ones. Obviously, we all need a good
sure.
laugh, but I think having
Good.
conversations like this, yeah,
Yeah. Makeup
having
tutorials.
conversations like this is important. Yeah.
Absolutely. I totally agree. And I do create content on social media, but just like you're saying, that is not the thing the algorithm wants to spread because to be honest with you, on my worst days, doom scrolling is, you know,
Yep.
really really one of my go-to sort of strategies. And so the people who make money off of our doom scrolling know this. They know that us being anxious, unhealed, um, uncentered, unbalanced is going to lead to more eyeballs on the screen. And so I think to break through with conversations like this in the social media space, you have to be so good at delivering your message. Only the very best ones make it through because you don't see a lot of me. I mean, I make this content and I quit worrying about followers and just really have faith that the right people will hear my message about self-love and
Yeah.
and the spiritual alignment but it's out there. There are people creating it. It just doesn't break through a lot because us being
I'm
healed.
trying to be that breakthrough.
Yeah, I'm so proud of you. That's wonderful.
Um, no, like sometimes I have to like add some comedy to it just to get like I don't know, I'll send you some that has gotten a couple thousand views on Instagram and YouTube. I'll send you those after this. But
Yeah,
yeah, sometimes you
I'll-
have to create stuff like that just to get some attention.
that's right.
Um,
Well, when
but
I
no,
talk
I'm
about
also the same. Like you have to have faith in the right people will choose to listen. But
that's right.
I'm also on the side where some people you just need to listen to this. Like,
Yeah, the people who are not listening are maybe the ones who need it the most.
yeah, right. Like there's people that are already on this journey that I hope you're listening. But then I also want to reach the people that are either in denial or may not be searching for it. And this may be that pivotal moment that they hear that changes their mind.
Well, Thomas, I don't know how in tune you are with spiritual teachers and leaders of the modern times, but according to all signs point to a massive awakening across the globe that starts like now. I'm feeling
Hmm.
it. We're going to have a higher vibrational energy. People are
My
going,
brother talks about this because
yeah,
he's
oh,
big into astrology.
yes, there's that. I'm learning the astrology piece. I've always been just in tune spiritually and very intuitive, but more people will be like us having conversations like this and be interested in what I recently discovered there framed it as being fiercely attached to seeing the goodness in other people and in ourselves.
Hmm.
And when you do that, when you are so adamant that you are going to see the good. It's very hard to get angry at a person when they misbehave because people misbehave. They do things they shouldn't do. They are hurtful. They're mean, 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 mean. You have to see that person as hurting. And so I can give compassion
Yeah.
and move on. I don't have to add to the hurt. I don't have to get into a fight. I don't have to like cycle in and downward with people when they're in that space. I can say, "Oh, I recognize this behavior that you're doing is coming from a place of hurt, and I'm
Mm.
protected from that, and I send you love and compassion, and I'm not gonna participate in that." And I don't even have to say those
No, yeah.
just knowing that frees me. I don't have to take on every annoyance, every time someone tries to hand me their pain by being mean
Mm.
or rude or not compassionate. I don't have to take it. I can say, "Oh, no, thank you. I have nothing but compassion for you. I'm
Or
not going."
the gaslighting and the trolling, especially the trolling online and the gaslighting in real life and online. You Once you become aware of that, like, you notice it, I just nip it in the bud. I'm just like, "Nah, I know what you're doing. I know what you're doing." Like, "Yeah, you can't do that."
When it's on social media, it's like, "Thanks for the engagement. Comments help." You're helping
Yeah,
me.
like, no, especially those people that are like, they'll follow people and be uh like, for example, like pages that have millions of follows and they like changed or something. They're like, "Oh, I used to follow you, but now I'm gonna unfollow you, like, because this isn't the content I subscribed to before." And it's
Mm,
like, okay, but you still took the time to write this message and you still took the time to watch this one that just triggered you in a certain way.
that's right.
So, and I see it as, yeah, like you said, the hurt people, and they have this spark that they're trying to light on you. And it's your opportunity to either fuel that spark with more fire or distinguish it and blow it out.
Mhm.
And you have to choose to distinguish it every time, or extinguish it, whatever.
That's so good. One of the lessons I learned recently through a spiritual experience was that darkness cannot survive in the light. And we think of this in a lot of
Mm,
different ways, right? Like the truth will come out, or, something will eventually come to light. And that is very deep and meaningful because you know that when someone spews darkness, like their darkness is their pain that they're carrying around, and they will put it out and try to spread it, try to get it out of themselves by putting it onto someone else. If you let your inner light shine, it can't exist with you. Like, there is no existence of your darkness coming out onto me as long as I do not
yeah,
let my light be diminished. So if I am still operating out of love and compassion, doesn't matter what you do. I'm still going to have your darkness will be transmuted and gone the second you try to put it out on me because there can be no impact of it. And we're going to have more and more human beings operating this way. And it's going to be a real relief because we've been operating from a very different place of darkness
yeah,
and spreading our pain and getting down. I call it falling in the dirt, like things that make you fall in the dirt. Because even though I have this amazing spiritual practice and I live most of my day in a peaceful place like I am right now, there are people and
yeah.
triggering events that can
Life happens. Yeah,
where I get activated and reactive and I act a
it's out of
fool
your control.
for
Yeah,
sure. And luckily those times are getting shorter and shorter and fewer further between, but we're humans. So some things are going to bring us down into the dirt. But
yeah.
we
Life will
live
test
up
you.
here. Oh yes.
Yeah, life will. Man, I get tested all the time from my children, my ex, that my baby mama. I get tested all the time, man. The trolls, it's you have to see it as test though. Like, you can't see it for what it is. See it as a test. Take it as an opportunity to reflect and be like, okay, wait, what am I feeling right here? Why am
Mm.
I feeling this way? This is an opportunity actually for me to be better.
Yes. You're so good, that's so good. And what happens is, once you pass that test a few good times, you might not keep getting it so often, because the universe
Mm,
tends
yeah.
to try to teach us something, and if we refuse to get the lesson, it'll just keep coming and coming and coming.
Oh, yeah.
Like, there's people. what you know, people who walk around with a dark cloud over them where everything is like, "Oh, how are you doing?" "Well, there's this and that and this."
Yeah.
It's the same with these tests of our resolve to be peaceful beings, right? Like, so the things that are gonna bring me into the dirt are gonna keep on coming until they don't bring me in the dirt anymore. And so that is the challenge, to recognize those things. Like, what are the things that bring me down into that level where I'm willing to spar with someone about their pain and my
Yeah.
which gets
Yeah.
nobody anywhere except grow pain. So we don't wanna do that. We wanna live in peace, you know? And it's possible. I have a video that I made where
Yeah.
I'm striving for a life with no fighting. No fights, no arguments ever. I think it's possible. Do you think so?
I think it is possible, but I think there will always be various discussions that trigger people a certain way. And that
Yeah.
actually that's a good uh turning point to what I was going to say earlier that I disagree with about body positivity. And it's the Lizzo movement.
Yeah.
Have you heard
You're
of that?
with that.
Huh?
You don't agree with the body positivity, like, "I'm fat and proud," kind of.
Yeah, I don't because you're basically like no, like it's okay to be fat and proud, but I'm here to say that it's not healthy.
Yeah. And I
You can
think
be confident, fat, proud, happy in your body, whatever. Just don't promote that as like it's good for you.
yeah,
And that's what like it may be good for you temporarily, but carrying being obese is not healthy.
yeah. It isn't, and I think that so whenever there is a societal oppression,
Mhm.
any sort. So as a formerly fat person, I can tell you that the world is not nice
Yeah,
to fat people. The world is not designed for us. It was difficult. There's a lot of judgment. There's a lot of shaming, a lot of assumptions that I'm lazy or this or that, and nothing could be further from the truth. I never ate fast food. You know, there's a lot of assumptions about that. Um,
really.
yeah, yeah, I was always health conscious. I just ate too much carbohydrates, I guess, in the end, that's the thing. But that was
And
also
did you
a
work out?
um, off and on, I was an active person. Like I said, moving at the speed of light all the time, but I could never stick with a gym routine. Um,
Mm,
but at the end of the day, the world is not kind to fat people. And what happens is there's a reaction to that. So fat people
mhm,
have to exist in the world and we deserve, and I say we just because I still claim that as a person who's going to have to manage her weight the rest of her life. We still have to
mhm,
exist in the world and we have a right to exist and we have a right to people being kind to us. And so there's this reaction
mhm,
to the oppression and the hatefulness.
mhm.
And the pendulum swings maybe too far in the other direction. Like
Yeah,
right now we are compensating all of a sudden because we had the civil rights movement, we have this awareness about people with different abilities and disabilities where we are not going to say certain words that are unkind, we're changing our language, but really fatness is like the last zone where it's okay, because even the super left um you know politically correct police would make fun of people for being fat. They would still use
mm,
that as a weapon. So now there's this overreaction like, no, 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 you must be kind to fat people. We are fat, we are here, we are proud, and it's okay.
yeah, it's always extremes.
It's extremes. And so is it healthy? No. Does everyone know that? Yes. And that's where I think that my podcast was really an important exercise because
Mhm,
I was determined to remain body positive, to not because growing up as a girl in the United States, like when I was growing up in the 80s and then when I was a teenager in the 90s, being skinny, when I say thin, like what you would think of now as someone who is unhealthy skinny, like when you see a woman who's teeny tiny, looks like maybe she's never eaten a cupcake in
like
her life.
anorexic.
Yeah, that was this beauty standard. So we
Mm,
were always chasing this impossible standard. There was no representation of any kind of curves or anything, and that is changing. But we were forced this diet culture, this
Like the
eat less.
societal views of it. Yeah.
And so, how do I set myself free of diet culture and beauty standards while realizing that to love myself is to take care of my body, while
Mhm.
loving my body as it is changing? Because right now I'm still going to lose more weight.
It's the
I had
gray.
I
It's
had
the
lost
gray.
100
Yeah.
pounds and was still technically obese. I had lost 100 pounds
Mm.
and was still obese. So I still had to love my body and be proud of it, even when I still had another 100 pounds to lose. And so I think
Yeah.
that's where body positivity is so important. It's that a fat person cannot wake up and decide to not be fat today. They have to live. My daughter said this beautifully on the podcast because she lives in a larger body. And she said, I have to wake up in this body tomorrow. And next week, I'm still going to be fat. And next month, I'm still going to be fat, no matter what I decide to do today. So I deserve to be proud of myself and happy and feel beautiful, whether I'm fat or skinny. And so that was all an important reconciliation for me because I very much believe in that. And also, I very much believe in taking care of myself and I want to live longer. And I wanted to face the reality of what I was doing to my body by being and maintaining that size. And that was a difficult thing to do. And it's a difficult conversation to have because as women, we've been subjected, particularly women, but men also, have been subjected to this conversation where thin is the only thing that's acceptable. And so, how do I don't wanna participate in that. I don't wanna make like, I don't want anyone who's overweight hearing this feeling shamed because absolutely, like, setting
Oh,
myself
yeah, yeah.
that is so
I don't
critical.
want anybody to feel shamed.
So so that's
My
the
I just think it's not healthy to be fat, but you can be.
well, that's not an opinion, that's a fact. That's a
Yeah.
fact. I mean, it is. It is the fact, and I think
Yeah.
it's very hard to accept, because also what you eat, what you crave, how much you eat, how much you think you need to eat, that stuff forms at a very early age and interplays with your genetics. So I come from a long line of addicted people. And when I was a little girl, I wasn't getting what I needed from the adults in my life. I wasn't allowed to express my feelings, and food was the thing I had access to. So cake, cookies, ice cream, little Debbie snacks, whatever, regulated my nervous system. That was survival.
Yeah.
And I didn't get fat, so to speak, until I became an adult, but I felt like a fat
Mm.
person. I ate like a fat person. I turned to food, and that was as a child. I was innocent. I was
It's
doing
like you,
to
like,
serve.
manifested it.
Yes,
You,
and
like,
then
manifested your fatness.
yes, oh, definitely. I called that into being for sure. And then what happens is you turn to food at this young age because of all of these factors and it interplays with your genetics. And then that's what your body sets out to do. It says, oh, okay, this is what we do to cope. And so then your whole personality and
Mm.
coping structure gets formed around this. This is why addiction is such a problem in society right now. I mean, 1 in 10 people over the age of 14 in America is addicted to something actively right now. That means we
I'm
all
addicted to coffee.
yeah, well, if you count coffee, way more of us, but, right now, it's and young people are turning to things more like we're not okay with just being with ourselves, and our genetics are
Yeah.
powerful at play with these active addictions, but food is no different, and it starts at a very young age, and then your whole system is just set up this way, and
I
it's very
think it's
to fight it.
I think it's the whole fat movement and body positivity movement. I think it's just when you get into politics, it's like it's always the extremes. That's why I don't like the question you brought up, like, can we just talk without arguing, and like, can we have a conversation without getting triggered? And it's like whenever you bring up politics, like this whole Lizzo body positivity, fat and proud movement, it's like there's no gray. It's like, can we just like to me, this whole movement is gray. Like, yes, you need to be confident, you need to practice self-love, but then you also need to be real and know that that's not healthy to be fat. It's not healthy to be fat, but it's like you're getting the mindset right. It's the mindset is right. You need to be confident in who you are. You need to be happy in your body, but then you also need to realize it's not healthy and you need to lose weight. Like,
Yeah,
unless you want to
the fact.
uh, get older and start getting these creaks at an early age and pains and disease earlier, then it's not okay to be fat, but it is okay to be happy in your body.
And I'm so grateful to the people that are living in fat bodies and are promoting it because what it's causing is an awareness, right? That's how it happens. So
Mm,
because someone like Lizzo came along and said, "Look how sexy I am in
yeah.
this body," women of all sizes were able to look at themselves in a different way and
Yeah.
start to feel that self-love piece. So the idea, yes, like weight management is a health issue that's very personal. We all have to take care of our health if we want to do certain things. Like, I couldn't ride roller coasters anymore. I could not fit on them.
Really?
And I love roller coasters, and I felt like that's just one of the many, many things that I couldn't do because of my size. And I can't look myself in the mirror and say, "I love myself," if I'm allowing what is essentially a maladaptive coping mechanism to take over my life in such a way that it limits it from the things that I love. But
Yeah.
meanwhile, fat and proud is really important so that there's visibility, representation, compassion. People like, I have so much compassion for the 337-pound me. I love her. I thank her all the time. I still keep her pictures up. I don't delete.
Really?
I'm proud of her because she's the one who started me on this. I couldn't be where I'm at. She did everything. She got her doctorate. She raised 4 beautiful kids. She did all this
Mm,
amazing stuff while over 300 pounds and carrying the weight of, like, if you think of like 5 or 6 40-pound bags of dog food extra I was carrying around. Think about a 40-pound bag of dog food, how heavy that is.
that's
I was
like, or it's like two and a half of me.
Yeah, there you
Because
go.
I'm I'm 150, 160. I range between 150, 160, but I
Yes.
never
I was
I can't.
carrying you around
Yeah.
on my back and still kicking ass at life. So I'm pretty proud. I mean, imagine carrying a 200-pound person on your back, sleeping with, like, all the time, and try and turn over in bed in the middle of the night. Try to get up out of bed and have dreams for yourself. Go, like, do a lot. Go do things. Be successful, be admirable, be bright and beautiful and happy. It's hard. Life is hard to begin with, but so I have a lot of compassion and pride in the larger
Yeah.
me. I prefer to live the way that I am now in a smaller body. I feel healthier. I am not limited, you know. I'm not subject to fat phobia when I walk around anymore. I don't
Fat
get.
phobia.
Yeah, no,
What
people
is
are so
that?
fat phobic. I mean, like, I just recently I was at the theater and a man, it's a long story that doesn't need to be told right now, but the bottom line is that there wasn't even an altercation between us. Gave him a friendly bit of directional information, and he grabbed my arm and turned me. And this was shocking
Hmm?
to me.
When was
I
this?
This was just a few weeks ago. And what I
Okay.
know is that when I was 337 pounds, nobody was touching me like that. People didn't come into my space.
Uh,
People stay as far away from fat people as they can. And so for me, this was a shocking, revelatory experience. I'm like, "Oh my god, this is what smaller women experience," because we're also in a deeply
mm,
misogynistic, culture that we're trying to work our way out of, where men feel entitled to just touch I mean, he's an older man. I mean, this is probably not
uh,
for people of your generation, but he felt like it
yeah,
was
I
okay
would never do
to touch
that.
my arm and turn my body, and I just couldn't even believe it. Like, I was like, but so there was a lot of me that wanted to stay larger because I felt safe that way, and I was safer in a lot.
Oh, yeah.
Me and my daughter joke, like, "If you're trying to kidnap me, all I gotta do is drop dead weight and you're not getting anywhere." My daughter's like on the podcast in her episode, she's like, "Yeah, it's a two-man job, definitely." Like, there is a safety in being larger, there's a protection. So, there's a lot wrapped up in it. It's not so simple as eat less, move more, just
Yeah.
do better for yourself. It's so much more.
Yeah.
I was very afraid of being thin for a lot of
It's a
very.
whole mindset shift.
It's a whole mindset shift, and also this didn't come from me. This is a brilliant sort of idea that's floating around now of you choose your hard. It was,
Oh, yeah,
it was
that's
yeah.
gener that's been, Because I study Stoicism,
Oh, yeah.
and I think I've been, I don't know, I think I'm naturally stoic. Like, I don't, it's not like something to boast about, but I just think I'm naturally stoic. Like, all my friends and family say I'm like, I could be cold sometimes
Mhm.
and keep to myself. And these are all like stoic traits. And um, that brought up a good point that choosing your hard is because there will always be hard in your life. There will always be suffering. There will always be hard. And it's up to you to choose it, you know?
Yeah. It's hard to get up
So
and go to bed when you're too tired, but it's also hard to be 337 pounds. It's hard to move through the world
yeah.
body and have men feel like they can just touch me and grab me and move me any kind of way. But it was also hard to be in a fat body and navigate that. Like it's none of it is easy. I've given like I would say I said before I lost weight that I was one of the things that I was sort of afraid of is that I was cozy and comfy and like when people hugged me, I felt like I was a refuge. I mean, my children, um, like a
Yeah,
hug
like a
with
teddy bear.
yeah, I mean, I was
You're like
a
a teddy
busty
bear.
cuddly, cozy lady, and I was so afraid of giving that up, like, I don't wanna be the bony hug, like, that's not fun, who wants to hug a bony person? But what's so amazing and this is just one tiny
I
thing,
wanna
right?
hug a bony person.
There you go.
If
Well,
you're
what I
bony, I'll hug you too.
right? Well, so you have to make yourself feel good, right? But I knew that
Yep.
my hugs were good and cozy, and I was afraid to give that up, but what I've learned now, when I hug a person, I actually can be heart to heart with them. That there's
Mm.
much less space between me and other people, and when I hug them, I can feel their heart space on my heart space, and that is so totally new. I had these layers of protection. I've lost 2 feet of girth around my hips, 2 feet. That
Oh,
was 2
wow.
feet of distance between me and the people around me that now is closed in. I'm literally closer to people. And so that is
Yeah.
like I gave up those comfy, cozy, fluffy hugs that I had, but I've gained a vulnerability and a physical closeness that I never have experienced or would have expected. So that's like anything in life. You give up something to be fat and you give up something to lose the weight. You just have to choose
Mhm.
which one it is. And that goes for everything, everything.
Yeah, it comes down to what you value more, you know?
Yeah.
Like, do you value being fat and cuddly, or do you value that heart connection that you gain from people?
Right. And I think what we are learning as a society is that we are allowing people to make their own choices about who they are,
Mm.
what they do, and like live and let live. And so I think the
Mm.
same fatness, like if a person chooses to live their life in a fat body and never do anything about it, we have to respect that choice. It is their body. If they want to live with those health risks, but they're satisfied and content in their bodies, and whatever they're doing in their relationship with food is satisfying and comfortable for them, and they don't want to change it, okay. You
Yeah, so
have a
be it.
right to make that choice and love yourself and still be proud of the way that so that's where it's like
Mhm.
yeah, so be it, and good for you that you're happy and comfortable, and I, like you, have a good intentions toward the world. I wanna help people heal. Um, I want to help people, you know open up their eyes to what could be in their lives, and make things more peaceful for them. I wanna spread the good word, right? But that doesn't mean
Yeah.
that's the only way to live and be happy, you know?
Yeah, because 'cause you've been through it.
Yeah, I was happy before.
Yeah.
I just didn't realize how much happier and how much different it could be. I didn't know.
The grass is greener on the other
Yeah.
side
You know,
sometimes.
the desire to be thin was always there because of diet culture and, beauty standards
Mm.
and all of that. But it really the things that I love the best about being a size 8 versus a size 28 is the things that don't have anything to do with the way that I look, actually. Actually, I really liked my
Which
butt
is crazy, yeah.
better.
You said you liked your butt better?
Oh, way better. My butt was fantastic. It was phenomenal. And now it's just, a regular old lady butt. So there you give and take. You can't have everything. There are definite drawbacks.
I
Yeah.
can't speak on your butt, but
Just saying though, like, now I'm just an average looking person. I'm just a regular everyday girl.
you're
But
not average. You're speaking the truth, and you're speaking something that people should be aware of, and I think you're doing a good job at it.
oh, thank you so much. And I think that about you. You're so impressive, and I feel like you're so young to really have this wisdom that you have.
It started. I mean, I've been through a lot of adversities myself, and um, I don't know. It just started through meditation for me.
Mm.
When I started meditating and journaling and reading a bunch of self help and business books. Yeah, that's where it started for me. But yeah.
I I wanna back up to something you said, and you said being stoic was nothing to boast about, and you also said that you studied Stoicism. And I wanna say that your
Mm,
Stoicism is your superpower. You have that natural
mm,
demeanor about you, and that is something to embrace, and it's so amazing that you've discovered this and that you've actually studied it and, like, looked to embrace that part of yourself. Because not all of it I'm not, I'm totally emotional and not stoic at all. I've had to learn to embrace that part of myself. That's my superpower, my deep feeling, my deeply passionate,
yeah.
highly moved sense of emotion. But we need stoics. We need people like you who are more
Mm,
balanced and even stay calm in the face of things and take a step back and say, I can live in this gray area. I love the gray too, by the way. I think that's so important. We are in this polarized society where everything you have to choose this or that. This you have to be
mm,
body positive or you can be skinny, but you can't be skinny and body.
mm,
It's just ridiculous. And same with
mhm.
politics, although I have my leanings, but there things are gray. We have to be able to live
Yeah.
in gray and discomfort, but as a society, we don't like discomfort at all. But anyway, I want to tell you, like, your stoicism is something that you should that you should move toward and embrace and explore and recognize as a gift because it gives you some perspective and ability to handle situations in a way that highly emotional people like me can't do. And so we need that influence
Mm.
on our planet, on in our
Well, my
interactions.
family always, like, tease me about it. Like, "Oh, like, you don't show your love," or, "You have this cold love about you," like, "We know you love us, but it's like you don't show it," or it's like, "Do you ever cry?" Like, "What do you" like, what is, like they always, like, tease me about this stuff, and it's like, "Yeah, I feel emotions." It's like, I just there's certain ways I process them. I don't process them the same way as you. I don't hold on to emotions. I let emotions come and go very quickly. I think that's the difference between people who
Yeah.
are like empaths and emotional versus me is I don't I don't hold on to them. Like I'll feel it and I'm like, man, okay, I'm feeling it. I'm feeling it. Like if I have to cry or let out a tear, whatever. But then I'm just moving on from that emotion.
And that's so important. Like, actually, that's a skill that I'm having to work to learn. Eckhart Tolle
Mm.
says, "You are the sky, your feelings and your thoughts are the clouds." So you can just observe them, let them flow through you, and
Um,
move.
yeah.
Where
I
before
actually
with
did a
food, I was
meditation on that, yeah.
yeah, it's so
You
good.
said you did what?
So what um, with food, I would stuff my
Yeah, food.
emotions. And so now with
Oh,
meditation,
yeah.
I've got this practice of like, wow, I'm feeling really strongly about this. This is one of my teachings when because I teach self-love and inner critic healing and
Mhm.
mindfulness and self-awareness online and on social media and stuff. And one of the sort of values that I impart a lot is that strong reactions are invitations to heal. So whenever you find yourself highly reactive and emotional about something someone did, there's something to uncover there. There's a
Mhm.
truth that you can find and heal. But I think stoicism, if your family was here in family therapy, I would tell them to learn to accept love in the way that you can give it because
Mm.
not give us love the way we want to get it, but we have to look for people that we love, that we know love us. We have to look for the signs. Find the ways that you feel loved. And then I would tell you that you can still be stoic and also listen to your family's needs and figure out ways to really show your love. And you especially need to do this with your daughters. I know you are.
Yeah, because people,
Like they need your love so big, so big.
man, I give them like 5-minute hugs every day.
That's so
Like,
good.
and just,
You're not an incurable stoic.
yeah, I just, I don't know. I'm so grateful to have kids, and I would love to have more with the right person that shares the same values and mission as me, you know?
Yeah. Oh, you'll find them. You'll find that person. You're putting yourself out there in a major way.
Yeah, but what are, I did wanna go over, like, what does your retreats look like?
So, what I do is I walk people through basically this evolution. I
Mhm.
personally am a natural teacher. I learn by teaching. So, as I
Oh,
went
yeah.
through my own discovery of inner critic healing and then self-love and now mindfulness and self-awareness and the peace that that brought, I just feel like I can't help but share it. And then the weight loss component too, like
Oh,
I
yeah.
have to share it because I feel like
Yeah.
people are suffering. I know they're suffering and I'm so compassionate and I feel other people's pain. And I feel like we're so lost as a society that anybody who can bring in the light, bring in their voice about these things that you talk
They
about,
should. Yeah.
and we're here, yeah, add your voice to the chorus. We need you because when I first started doing this work, I thought, well, there's so many people who are already saying this. I guess I don't really need to say it. Bonk,
Mm.
absolutely not. If that was the truth, then nobody would be walking around in pain. We would have all gotten the message. You know, all we need is Jesus or Buddha and we'd be good. You know, we've got the
Yeah, 'cause
message.
they said
But
it
we
already, right? Yeah.
yeah, they said it already because the truth is the truth is the truth, and the truth doesn't change. So,
Mhm.
but we need many messengers who look many different ways, like Lizzo, who's big and beautiful and
Yeah.
amazing. This with her
Mhm.
sassy music. We need that self-love message from messengers like her and messengers like, you know, Eckhart Tolle, who you can barely understand sometimes because it's so deep and, you
I
know,
still have
like
his book, The Power of Now.
yeah. Oh, it's so
Yeah.
good, but it took me, like, 3 times of reading that for it to really sink in. Like, we need many,
That's
many,
how I
many
am with most
messengers.
books,
It's
to
yeah,
be
it takes a
honest.
lot
I
of
have to,
intention.
like, reread them.
Yeah. I do a self-love book club. Anyway, so I start with that inner critic healing. The first step to developing this sort of peace is tuning into your thoughts instead of running away from them and recognizing
Mhm.
that you are not your thoughts and your thoughts are not facts. So just because you say to yourself, "Oh my god, so and so is probably so mad at me. Oh my god, so and so probably thinks I'm so stupid," or you know, "Who do I think I am doing this?" Like just because you are saying those things to yourselves does not make them true, and that is also not who you are. That's just your brain going into animal
Mhm.
overdrive. And so
Yeah.
tuning into is the first step. So that inner critic identification and then expelling it. And I have a variety of tools that I teach for that. And
How do you
then
expel it?
build. So, like one tool that I love that's so easy is to picture your best friend's voice having a conversation. So, if this thought comes in, like if my thought comes in, I'm a CEO and I have of employees at work, and sometimes I get insecure and I think, oh, they're going to think I'm this or that. I picture my best friend's voice talking back to it. Like, "Wait a minute. You're such a good leader. Like, why would you even say that to her? She's amazing. Her employees love her. I just let
Mm.
my best friend do the argument with the inner critic,
Mhm.
and let that conversation play out in my head in her voice. That's
Mm.
one tool. Um, challenging the beliefs and the thoughts that come to mind. Like, for example, I was always really obsessed about how other people perceived me because I was a
Yeah.
people pleaser and I needed other people to see me as perfect and I needed to make them happy. And so I was very caught up in what other people think of me. And so what I teach about that is that number 1, what other people think is none of your business. Number 2, that's only their thoughts, which are not facts.
Yeah.
So like how important
Yeah.
really? And then
Yeah.
the third thing is to challenge those thoughts. Like, is that really true? Like, do you think that so and so is really still thinking about you 3 days after this interaction? Like,
Yeah.
probably not. What's the
It's not a
real life?
fact. Yeah.
It's not a
These aren't facts.
and so
These aren't facts or truths. Yeah.
our brain is really like this animal brain, that we have really goes low to keep us because your brain is an organ
Survival,
in your
yeah.
body like yes, and your brain just wants to do its job, which is to think, right? But we don't need it all the time. We don't need to be thinking all the
Yeah.
time. We need
Yeah.
like sometimes
Space.
have to just
Yeah.
and so our brain loves to make us think, and when we start thinking about things that make us worry, fearful, then we think more. We keep thinking. And so your brain's like,
Like a
"Yeah, yeah, more of
spiral.
that."
Yeah.
And so it's just a mechanism of your brain. And if you can let go of thinking, this is how I really feel about myself, or I'm really down on myself. No, no, your brain is an animal. Your brain is an animal brain. Like, just dismiss it. Find who you really are in the inside, and it's not your thoughts. It's not in
Yeah.
your brain. It ain't your brain. That's not who you are. And so those are some of the tools that I teach for that. And to me, that was in my journey, the very first step was tuning in, where in life we actually tend to do the opposite. Oh, don't think about it. Just ignore that. I would be like, as a therapist,
Mm.
I would try to like, turn off those thoughts and be like, oh no, push that away.
Like you're
But
burying
what
it.
meanwhile, it's running free in the back of my mind all the time. My favorite
Mm.
inner critic, the thing that I would pick on myself with the most was, who do you think you are? Because I'm a leader,
Mm.
because people happen to listen to me or like choose me to lead them actually. And so I would often just really criticize myself and say, "Who do you think you are? You don't know anything." But now I
Mm.
know that's my animal brain trying to consume me with worry and fear so that I'll keep thinking.
Who did you think you were?
I I think I thought I was small, worthy. I thought I was unworthy. Unworthy of attention, unworthy of love, unworthy of anyone listening to my voice. I thought I was unworthy. And so I kept perpetuating that feeling by pretending that any time I felt awesome or good at something, that meant I was an egomaniac and I needed to be tamped down and quieted down. And who do you think you are? But really, the truth is,
Yeah.
I am light. I am love. I am amazing and unique and special and worthy of love. And I am love. And that is true for you. That is true for every single person on this planet. There's not a person who that's not true for. You are
Yeah,
light.
because
You just
you were
have to figure it out.
subconsciously yeah, you were subconsciously pushing that part of you away, but it was a part of you, and
Yes.
you weren't allowing it to shine bright. You
Yes. I
kept
was so
pushing
afraid.
it and pushing it back down. Yeah.
I think mostly I was afraid of other people not liking me because my light was so bright. Because it's threatening and scary and it makes people uncomfortable if they're in a dark place. And so it's like I lived in the darkness so that I could be in the darkness with people and I cared about what they thought about me. And by the way, being fat was my apology for my bright light. Like, I'm not a threat. You don't wanna be me. You don't wanna trade with me. You're not envious of me. No, no. Because I might have done all these great things and I might be really smart and all that, but I'm fat, so you don't wanna be me. Like, literally, I think that was one of my errant ways of thinking that kept me that size.
Yeah, have you ever heard of that quote, "There's a light at the end of the tunnel,
Mhm.
but that light is you. That light is within you that's shining, and you need to
Whew.
let it shine." Yeah.
Yes. It's so the truth. I don't I probably didn't direct you to this, but now we're getting into the real deep realm of where it's at. I did a thing recently called body work or energy healing, and
Mhm.
I saw, it's a long story that we probably don't have time for, but I'll get to the important part. I saw my darkness,
Mhm.
I saw my shadow. I saw the shadow not able to exist in the light, and I was invited to bring in the light, and I was very afraid and felt very unworthy of the light. And I was laying on my back, and I saw a face hovering over my face, like clear as if I'm looking at you, like very clear, very bright, gorgeous, beautiful. Like those words don't cover it. I mean, amazing. Like you said, the light, like the light you think of when
Mm-hmm.
people say go to the light. But it was a
Mm-hmm.
face with these spots of light and it was hovering over my face. And I was just in awe of it. I'm laying there and I felt completely unworthy of even looking at this beautiful face. And the light wanted me to accept it. Like there was this sense of like, let this light in. And I was like, no, 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 I am not worthy of this light. And then I was
Mm-hmm.
shown that I was looking in a mirror.
Mm-hmm.
The light that I felt unworthy to even look at was actually the light that's in me.
Mm-hmm.
And the light that's in me is the same as the light that's in you and in everyone. And so it's from that place that now I have peace because I can have compassion for anyone. Like, no matter what horrible thing they do or how much they might hurt me, I can have compassion and set a healthy boundary to protect myself. But I don't have to
Yeah.
carry the of all of that. I can say, that's your pain. My light is still on and
Mm-hmm.
shining bright. I love you and I have compassion for you. And please, I'm going to send you healing energy because I want your light to shine. And that's like really the whole thing.
Man. Yeah, that
I
was
went
good.
there.
No, it's true though. We all have a light within us, and that
Yeah.
light is that joy, that peace, that happiness, that fulfillment that we want to spread, that we yearn for. Is that the word? That we yearn for,
Yeah.
and
For it.
that sometimes you have this idea of success, but then when you get there and you still feel that missing piece, that's
Yes, I
that's
relate.
the light that you need to find.
That's
So,
right. And it's right there. It's like ours to access. Just like our breath is there all the time, the light is there.
mhm.
To accept that it's ours. And I would say, like, to add for people that are listening, thinking about this, just remember that our entire society, capitalism, our political
Yeah.
spectrum, our educational system, our healthcare, every single system we have in our society is set up to keep our light dim, to keep us
Yeah,
small and
yeah,
ourselves, keep us uncomfortable. Because when you're uncomfortable, you buy more things. When you are uncomfortable, you eat more things, you drink more things, you put money in other people's pockets when you're uncomfortable. When you're at peace, those things aren't as important. Now, I like some shopping just as much as the next girl, but there's a difference between shopping from a place of discomfort and shopping from a place of joy. And I guarantee you, you spend more money when you're shopping from a place of discomfort. So we are fighting
yeah,
this battle. Light workers like you who are spreading this word, saying, let your light shine. You're fighting against an entire societal system that depends on our illness,
yeah, yeah,
which we
and
can change. But by having conversations like this, it turns the tide. I promise.
yeah, we
Promise.
just gotta make it go viral so people see it and listen.
Well, I'm gonna start sharing your videos. Where are you? How can I find you
But
on?
I
You're
do
making videos.
appreciate the 10 views that I get so far, but we gotta make this go viral so people really listen.
That's right.
Um, I'll send you all my links after this. But
Okay, good.
no, I appreciate your voice because this is something I'm not too knowledgeable about. I can't speak about being fat because I've never been fat. So I
Mhm.
really appreciate this uh, this conversation because it's not my expertise. So I think it's a good conversation to have, an important conversation to have, and I think we covered a lot of great topics that would be insightful to those who listen.
To anyone. And I thank
So
you as a thin person, see my story and recognize that there's value in it. I think that says
yeah.
something about you. I appreciate you giving me this space. I do.
So I end every podcast the same way. I ask 5 questions and
Okay.
we can dive deeper into them or they can be quick if you'd like. So,
Okay.
first question is, what is your biggest regret?
Oh, I hate to say I have any regrets because every single thing, good, bad, ugly, got me to where I'm at now.
It's a
But if I could
lesson.
change
Yeah.
one thing, yeah, everything is a lesson, absolutely. I wish I could have gotten here sooner. It would have been nice if I'd have
Mm,
turned on the self earlier because I really put myself in through a lot of anguish in the years leading up to
mm-hmm.
this that I didn't need to be in
Yeah.
at all. And now I'm free of it, and I'm like, oh, joy. Like it could have been so much easier, but it's okay.
Yeah. Because in retrospect, that was part of your journey. That was part of your story. But it
Absolutely.
would have,
I think it also
it's like, yeah.
I wouldn't be who I am, and also, I think I am a teacher, I'm here to teach, and I can't teach this unless I had been on the other side of this, unless I lived in that
Yeah,
anguish. I wouldn't
exactly.
to learn this. If you're born this way and live in peace, or if you're stoic like you don't know the torture of being highly emotional and, all of
No,
that. So I think I
I
had
had my moments. Yeah.
yeah.
There was a time I always tell when me and my ex first started like separating, where I was manifesting night sweats for like a month. I was
Oh,
like
wow.
literally like I would wake up in the middle of the night and like literally soak, like it wasn't just a regular sweat. It was like I had just ran a marathon sweat, and like you could
Wow.
like take my shirt and like wring it out type of sweat for like a month straight in my body. I
Do
was
you
like,
think you
why am I feeling this?
Yeah,
Yeah, I
I'm
was like,
sorry. Go
why? And I was like, why am I feeling this? And it was just a manifestation of my emotions that I wasn't allowing for myself because
Mhm.
this natural stoicism to me. And it wasn't until I had to like really get deep down and reflect how I was feeling and like get analytical about it and allow myself to express that emotions. Cause man, even if you're a man and you're stoic or strong and you feel like you don't, it's weak to cry, man, sometimes you just need to cry. Like you just need to let out that emotion because you're not allowing it, you know?
Isn't it interesting as a society, we make men feel that way, and then we criticize them, by the way, for not having the emotional skills that we want them to have.
Hmm.
But also, if you think about that, it actually took so much more courage for you to allow yourself to feel those feelings and get in touch with them. Like, that took courage, you had to summon
Mm,
courage to it's actually very brave. So, there's this balance between stoicism and, like, my nature, which is that empathic,
yeah.
emotional like, I could use more stoicism and you could use more emotion, and we can learn from each other and balance each other out. And I mean, we as humans, in this conversation and also beyond, anyone can do that. But I think it's a beautiful thing how we can learn from each other and balance each other out like that.
No, yeah, always. Life is about the gray. It's not about the black and white. But
Absolutely.
who or what has made the biggest impact in your life so far that makes you who you are?
Gosh. Hmm. It's interesting. My brain immediately went to the hard things. Like I lost my grandmother chose to leave this life, and that shaped a lot about my life experience. And then I think of like my children, that my absolute
Mm,
north, south, and west stars, and how I was one of those girls that was always wanted to be a mom. Like I thought about my kids when I was a
mm,
kid. I was thinking I'm making good decisions so that when I'm a mom, things will be good for my kids. I thought about that by the time I was like
mm.
10. I was making decisions based on what was
Oh
going to be good
wow.
for my kids. So I would say my children. I think because they shaped my life before they were ever here, and I knew them before they were here, and I just, gosh, have had so much opportunity to love because of them. They bring so much love to my life.
Ah man, I would agree. That's something that's what motivates me to work sometimes when I don't feel like working, you know. Um
Yeah.
And I don't know what it would be like to like anymore to not have kids. Like I could always see myself having kids as well when I was younger. Um,
Yeah.
and I don't know. That's why I just sometimes I don't understand some people who like are like I'm never gonna have kids. I don't know. That's something I guess I need to work on. But yeah, I
Well, I think
think
we need
kids
people
is part of life. Yeah. Yeah.
we
Go ahead.
need people who are we need people who are willing to come to this life without children, because if everybody had kids, we would have way
Mm,
too many people. And also,
yeah.
I think people without children, like I just was with my aunt who was 93 when she passed away, and I was happened to be with her when it happened. And she never had children.
Oh, she never
And
did.
this was a source. No, and she was very Catholic, so she died having never experienced any sort of intimacy at
Oh
all.
wow.
None. 93 years old.
What?
And really, yeah, these people still
Crazy.
exist. They're just not, they're few and far between
Not
at this point.
common.
But anyway,
Yeah.
she was a wonderful person, a very well-loved person, but it was like a sore spot, a real regret for her that she never had children. Like she felt like her life had gone wrong, that she never met the right person, or she wasn't pretty enough or something, that to not get a husband and make babies, because that's what she felt was her purpose. But when she passed, we had the opportunity that she was still alive, but just not really fully with us. So I got to talk to her a lot. And I told her what an impact she had on me as my great aunt. She helped to pay for my tuition when I was a little kid. She showed me what it was like to be kind and loving. And because she didn't have children of her own, she was able to really give herself to all of her nieces, nephews, great nieces, and great nephews.
Mm,
And
yeah.
it's like a role for people like that. So
Yeah.
though I don't relate at all to not wanting children,
Yeah.
because of course it's my life. I am appreciative that there are people who are willing to come here, do the assignment of life, and not do it. We need them. They give more of themselves in other ways, because when you have kids, it really takes up a lot of who you are. It takes up a lot of your time, your money, energy, all of that. So
Yeah.
like
I
you
see
have
that
that
side
time
of
on.
it too. I think
Yeah.
it's
So
just
it's
the
pretty.
misconception that when people get selfish about it, I think that's the part I don't understand. It's like, no, I
Yeah.
don't want kids because now I can't go out or something. Like that side of it,
That might
you
be
know?
the issue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like but I appreciate the side, the people that don't have kids that are actually doing good in the world, just not the
Yes.
side that are like completely selfish about it because they can't go out or they see kids as a burden, stuff like that.
Right. Well, kids are a burden. It's just they come with a lot of great benefits too. But also, those people who feel that way out of selfishness, they're on their journey and they're figuring it out and they're doing the best they can. And maybe they're in a place where it's better that they're not having children. Like if they're selfish enough that
Yeah,
they wouldn't want the responsibility, then I'm grateful that they're keeping it that way.
you have to show compassion. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the key.
Um, Next question. What has been one lesson that you learned the hard way?
To not run from myself, to have my own back, to never turn my back on me. Because I really did that for a long time. I denied myself, ignored my feelings, did not honor myself, let myself be treated less than the way that I would treat others. I will never allow that again.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah.
What was that? Do you remember like when that moment was that you realized that?
It was definitely part of this. It was once I began to implement that, I was literally, I don't know how to explain it. It has to be a God thing, but literally
Mm,
as I'm learning to love myself, as anything popped into focus, I made a video about it. I was
mhm.
teaching people in workshops and retreats and making speeches about self-love
Yeah,
as I'm learning. I'm like that person that's flying the plane as they're building it. And so, but what the beautiful
yeah,
thing about that is that it was very real. Like all of the lessons that I teach in my social media stuff and all that, it's very real. Like, as I'm learning it, as these things are popping into place for me, I'm sharing it. So I feel like, because it's very easy for people who are at peace and all self-lovey to come back and say, "Oh yes, I love myself. You should love yourself. And here's some ways to do it."
Yeah.
It's a
Yeah.
different thing when those lessons are born, like when I'm in the grit. I'm in there figuring it out, how to do it. And so it started with tuning in and really being the self-honesty piece. The self-honesty part. Like, my life was not where I wanted it to be in terms of the relationship that I was in and my physical health. Everything else was kind of on track, but those were two areas that were huge and scary to
Mhm.
deal with. Once I was able to say, okay, the truth is that this person that you are in a relationship with, that you live with, that you think you want to marry, is not gonna be that person. That it should not be that he's not treating you the way that you deserve to be treated. And so to acknowledge that was like huge. Or like, this 337-pound body that you have is limiting you. Like, yes, you love yourself. Yes, you're proud of how you look, but you're limited. Like, being honest was honestly the door that opened, that, like, I realized I had been turning my back on me. I had been turning my back on me by ignoring the truth because it was hard. Once you acknowledge a truth, then you have to do something about it. And that is sometimes really the
Yeah.
hardest part, is deciding. Like, for example, I mean, I refer to the relationship. It wasn't the only thing, but it's the easiest one, I think, for people to relate to because we've all been in bad relationships. But once you say to yourself, "Man, the relationship is not good for
Yeah.
me," then what? Like, how long can you really stay with that person? Then you have to break up, then you have to go through the heartbreak and all of that. Or once you decide that being 337 pounds is limiting your life and you don't wanna live that way anymore, then you have to, like, eat less, move more, figure out how to conquer it. Which, by the way, just since we've talked about weight a lot, I used medical tools. I lost 100 pounds with a medication that a lot of people are taking right now, that a lot of misconceptions are about. And then I had gastric bypass after losing 100 pounds. And I fully embrace. There's a lot we didn't get to talk about the brain
Mhm.
mechanisms that about obesity, that, I firmly believe in unshaming people for using medical solutions to a medical problem, because you really can't therapy or meditate your way out of obesity, because it becomes a part of your biology at some point. So, anyway, that's for another day, but t- being honest with myself was the turning
Oh,
point.
no,
Do
yeah, I
not.
was gonna actually talk about that, um, about, I mean, I don't wanna speak for my sister, but my sister struggled with obesity her entire life as well, and
Mm,
now she's, like, taking charge of her health, and it's a lot, like, she has a lot on her plate. She has, what's it called, like, Hashimoto's disease or
yeah.
something, and then she has, like, thyroid, hormonal issues, and she also has, diabetes, um,
Mm,
and this is, like, all, like, just holding her back, um,
yes.
but, yeah, it's more
And she's
than you can't
fast.
just meditate your way to
Yeah. You can't have that spirit and
Yeah, you
emotional
have to
part
dive
fixed.
deep.
Yep. You gotta do all 3. But my
Mhm.
podcast is for people like your sister. Honestly, I think that's why I did it.
I'll share it with her
Yeah.
and whoever's listening.
Yeah.
Um, next question. If you had all the money and all the time in the world, what would you want to experience in life?
All the money and all the time, I would be traveling. I would experience every culture, every corner of the earth I could go to, for sure. I would be probably a wanderer. I
Yeah,
don't even know
that's
if I would
a
have I might have a permanent home that I visit now and then, but really, I just would I wanna see it all. I wanna experience everything that this lovely planet has to offer, for sure.
yeah, there's something magical about that, right? Just seeing
Definitely.
cuz we are part of the earth, you know. So it's like you want to see what you are a part of.
Yeah. That's actually something that's come with my weight loss, a love of hiking that I never if you'd have told me
Mm.
before, like, "Oh, let's go hiking," I'd be like, "What?" Like, "No. Mm-mm. No, thank you." And
Oh man,
now whenever I travel, I'm, like, Googling best hikes near me. I mean, I every city I go to, I'm, like, finding the hiking. It's my favorite
I
thing
love
to do. It's
hiking.
favorite. It's so wonderful.
I love hiking
So
too, but out here in Austin, there's like very few hiking, actual hiking trails. Like it's just like a walking trail. It's not a legit like hiking
right.
trail. Like I used to live in
Have
San
more
Diego and there was hikes everywhere. Yeah.
in New Orleans, we
Yeah,
have nothing. There
it's nice. Oh, really?
I live on
Yeah.
the river,
Same out
on the
here.
river, like, so I can walk on the river, but so that's my extent of my nature experience here, you know?
Yeah, it's
But,
just
yeah,
something
hiking
about
is
getting in tune with nature.
that's
Yeah.
right. Peace is there. Peace is in the mountains, peace is in the trees, peace is in the rocks, the dirt, the grass, the water.
Yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, ooh. Ooh, so good.
All
That's
right,
right.
last question. Is there any final personal insights that you'd like to share about your journey of discovering yourself that you would like to resonate with the audience?
I think my main point of my life, the purpose that I'm here for, is to help people cultivate compassion for others and for themselves. So I would say to anyone listening, you are worthy. You are not just worthy of love, you are love. You are not just worthy of your light, you are your light. That is who you really are. And to accept that is to give you the capability to have compassion for yourself and others in a way that you never thought possible. So love yourself. Find who you really are on the inside, like what's past the skin suit you're wearing. Get in touch with it and recognize that as your actual self. I teach self-awareness to master's degree students as a adjunct professor, and on day
Mm.
one, the question is, "Who are you?
Mm.
Who are you?" And we usually answer that with things like, "I'm a mom. I'm a CEO. I'm funny,"
The
or whatever it
labels,
is.
yeah.
Yeah, but none of that is who we really are. So that is the question. That is the question. Who is your essence? What is your essence? And until this part, my essence was unworthiness. At my core, I felt I was unworthy. And that
And
is the thing
embracing
that
that,
has
yeah. Embracing it
first you have
and taking accountability.
to
Yeah.
that's right.
Well, thank you, Dr. Joy. I think this episode will resonate with a lot of people. And I'm actually glad we got to talk about all this stuff because I haven't talked about this at all before. So if anybody would like to follow her, go follow her, go check out her podcast. What was your podcast again?
The podcast is called The Easy Way Out,
The
WEI.
Easy Way Out.
Yeah, and on Instagram, Facebook, all of that. I'm TikTok, Dr. Joy Bracey, DrJoyBracey.
And don't forget to like and subscribe and share this with anybody. Please share this with anybody you think will take it and go with it.
Yeah, gotta get the
So,
word.
yeah. Till next time, guys, stay curious and keep going. Peace.